here now for the First Coast Connect Book Club and joined as we always are by Stacey Goldring, the chapter Endnotes book club curator and facilitator to discuss this month's book. Good morning, Stacey.
Good morning, Anne. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to have you back. So the book club, for those who don't know, it's held at the San Marco Books and More, but it's a book club that's open to all.
Yes, and you don't even have to read the book to come. Just join us, have some lovely conversation, and learn about how literature reflects who we are today. And that's exactly what this month's book does.
Yeah, tell us about this. This is a classic, but has a very current message.
Fortunately, it does. We'll be reading this month The Crucible by Arthur Miller. And this is a book that takes place, it's a play that he wrote, and it is an allegory. So he goes back to 1692. It takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, and it's about the Salem witch trials, Anne. And, you know, we live in a society where the other is a capital O. And this particular play, which is very short, really, it's chilling and it's awakening. And there's also a hero in it, and we always need a hero. And in this case, the hero's name is John Proctor, our main character, who refuses to sign his name to a confession and tell the entire village a lie. So we need heroes like that today to stand up, and I think that we can take inspiration from this book. So just a very, very brief history of what happened back in 1692. So we're living in a time period where we have a city divided, and we have a government that is in flux, so no one quite knows who's in charge. You know, if the land I own really belongs to me. We have some really crummy winters where it's super cold. You throw in a few, wars with the indigenous population or the French or the English, depending on what side you are, and you have a community that feels threatened. And when you feel threatened, you make decisions based on fear. And this story is a warning to us all that making decisions based on fear, not getting all the facts, can lead to hysteria and corruption. Does it sound familiar?
So this play, Arthur Miller wrote, in the period he wrote it, was a reaction to what was happening at that time, McCarthyism.
Correct.
And,
Correct.
you know, later on commented that it's hard for people to sort of remember that fear. He was writing a piece I saw in the New Yorker in 1996 saying people look at this play and even the McCarthy era, and it's hard for them to remember that feeling of paranoia and fear that was so pervasive.
It's always difficult for the minority to understand what it feels like to be persecuted or hunted. And what he tries to do in this play is what he says he wants to grab us by the neck and shake us so we can understand what happens when fear takes control. It was very clear to the audience when it came out in '53, Anne, that this was about McCarthyism. Today, we look at it, and it's so interesting. So I had a few book clubs last week, and of course I'll have this evening. Everyone interprets this play differently. We all bring our own baggage to each book, and at every book club I go around, and I say, so what'd you think of the book? What was this book about? And everyone gives it a very different answer depending on their circumstances. And that's what's so fascinating about reading a book together, is we all learn from one another. No one cares about your politics, your religion, all the crazy going on in your life, but we can all learn from one another in this wonderful hour and a half that we spend together. And the name of this title is incredibly interesting as well, because what is a crucible, right? A crucible is almost a paradox, because on one hand, a crucible can be a melting pot. And at one point in our country, I am old enough to remember this, a melting pot was a good thing, right? But a crucible can also separate. It can separate the base metals from the good stuff, or I don't know, I didn't do so great in chemistry. But it's the idea.
Intense heat.
Yeah, and the intense heat. So it can also act as something that is cleansing. So it depends on us, the judges and jurors, our neighbors, our friends, on how we are going to go forward in a society that is based in fear.
So I know you welcome people, even if they haven't read the
Correct,
play, to
correct.
come tonight. Tell us where and when.
Sure. So 6:30 at San Marco Books and More. You sign up at chapterendnotes.com. And we open the doors at 6 o'clock to members only if they'd like to shop for the holiday season. What could be better than a book?
Stacey Goldring, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Stick around.